I'd like to welcome you to the career panel, and I'm going to ask each one of our panelists to introduce themselves. Tell me who you are, what company you work for, what you do there, and just a little bit about yourself.
My name is Jared Jackson. I own a small company called Energy Delivery Services. We are located actually right here in the neighborhood, but we do a lot of energy efficient improvements in residential and small commercial buildings such as this. And we work mostly with nonprofit and municipal organizations. So the Northwest Council of Governments, a nonprofit, Groundwork Denver. And so that is, in a nutshell, what we do.
I'm Betty Hyde. I own Green Job Outsourcing Brokers. I'm a job placement agency. I partner with ICAST, and I work with ICAST to help find jobs for the folks that go through their training programs. And in addition to that, I'm a full-service job placement agency.
My name is Gregory White. I'm CEO of Energy One Corporation. I do service installation of furnaces, air conditioners, boilers. And the next step for my company is to go into the renewable energy, which is geothermal, solar, and the wind energy.
Hello, my name is Leanna Salas, and I am a business development representative within the City and County of Denver's Workforce Center Systems. For the purpose of this particular class, I am actually the Workforce Systems Coordinator for the Green Careers for Coloradans grant.
I'm Dennis Brockfeld with AboutSavingHeat.com. It's a company I started in 1975. We make houses more energy efficient, and we've retrofitted a little over 30,000 houses since 1975. And we just work on existing structures. And we've worked on some big buildings. The biggest building in Denver is Republic Plaza. We did some energy efficiency on that, and also on 1999 Broadway. But most of it's residential type work that we do.
Dennis, in the 35 years that you've been doing this, what kind of changes have you seen?
There are new products coming on, and things are changing pretty rapidly. And you know, a lot of times I speak in historic districts, and one of my favorite green sayings is that I like to repeat, and I try to live by it too, is that if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. So you got to be open to change. You got to be open to learn new things. And even after 35 years, I'm learning new things all the time.
What do you see, Dennis, as the future of the energy efficiency industry? Where's the industry going?
Well, I think it's a great industry because in this country, bigger was always better. And I used to tell homeowners about the problem with their house and, you know, detailed and how they could solve it. A standard answer I got maybe out of 67% of my customers used to be, oh, well, we're moving to the next bigger and better house. We'll let the next homeowners worry about that. Now, a lot of homeowners are saying, well, maybe bigger isn't better, and it's not a good time to sell, so maybe if I'm going to be here, let's make the house more comfortable and more energy efficient. I think it's because energy has been so abundant in this country, and bigger was always better, that we've been so wasteful. That's where the opportunity is. We couldn't do this type of business right now, retrofit business in Sweden or Germany, because energy's been expensive and they're always been wise about it. But we've been so wasteful. I mean, it's incredible the amount of savings. And this is the type of work that cannot be exported. It's work that has to be done locally. So when I say think globally, heat locally, one, heat your local space where you're living, and it helps heat up the local economy because you're employing your neighbors. And if everybody could save $30 or $40 on the utility bill, they'll spend that $30 or $40 in the neighborhood, maybe going to the movies, going out to eat. So it helps heat up the local economy also.
Very good. Leanna, from your perspective, can you tell us what you see happening in the job market when it comes to renewables?
Well, at this point, of course, it's no surprise that there is a lack of jobs. However, we know that that is going to recover. The renewable energy and energy efficiency industry is still fairly new, and so there's more and more companies that are starting to learn more about it, and they're wanting to expand their current services. And so right now what we're wanting to do is help folks to get training and identify training, such as ICAST training, so that we can prepare job seekers to fill those positions. I do think that in the next couple of years, there's going to be a great number of opportunities for all of you to enter renewable energy or energy efficiency occupations.
Thank you. Greg, you've been in the HVAC business for a little bit of time. What have you seen change when it comes to energy efficiency since the time you first got into the business to what you see today?
Well, I've seen the types of equipment that are becoming more energy efficient. When I first got into it, it was pilot lights and big gas burners and draft furnaces, gravity flow furnaces, and people was just using energy, just burning the gas up. Now I see that these newer types of furnaces and air conditioners are also set up for the energy standards, which you're not using a lot of energy as before. I see that we can save energy. People just have to be educated on how to do it.
Betty, now you're in a job placement position. What do you see coming for folks in the renewable energy industry? What do you see happening there as far as employment?
I think it's really an exciting time for folks who are going through training. I think that our whole environment, our whole thought process about how we utilize energy is changing dramatically. It's becoming a part of our everyday life, whether we're at home or at our businesses. We think more about how we become more energy efficient. So I think folks who are spending their time today preparing, you're very smart, because I do think that as our economy starts to turn around, and I think it is turning around, I think we're going to see a lot more jobs in this industry. And a wide variety of jobs, too, not just the physical installation of things, but also sales, project management, customer service, all types of jobs.
Thank you. Jared, you see things from a little bit different perspective. So when you look out at what people are doing on the business side of things, investing and those sorts of things, what do you see happening on that side of things?
On the business side of things, our industry is kind of unique in the sense that although it's kind of the new wave, it's gaining popularity, we still are suffering from the economic downturn, just like any other industry. However, I think that the positive side is that because we are starting to grow, we're attracting innovators, we're attracting investors. Here in the Rocky Mountain region, there's something called the Clean Tech Open, which has major law firms involved, lots of money, angel investors, things of that nature. But one thing that I caution people of is that this is kind of akin to the technology boom in the early 2000s, if everyone remembers that, for every one Microsoft, Google, whatever, there was hundreds of small companies that went under during that technological boom, and much of the same thing now. For a rebate program to install evaporative coolers, 5 years ago, there was maybe 10 contracting companies at the mandatory training. There were 80 people there this past time. So that just tells you that there's so many people getting into the market because it's the place to be. But that doesn't mean that doesn't lessen the value that should be placed on a solid business plan, everything like that, because just being in the green industry does not secure business success in any way. So,
what is coming in this industry that's got you really excited?
well, I think one of the things that has me really excited about this industry is we're starting to gain validity. I think before it didn't get as much national recognition, as much government backing. There's a lot of RF funds out there. And so to me, that's critical to hear our President Obama say, insulation is sexy, right? That sheds a whole new light on our industry. And that's what really gets me excited, is that we're starting to transcend kind of the smaller niche group that I think we used to find ourselves in. And we're starting to transcend that and reach different demographics and different communities because the energy crisis is something that's affecting us all. No matter what your partisan lines are, income status, whatever it is, we're no longer a smaller, we care about the earth bunch. We're actually starting to grow and gain validity throughout the nation. So that's what gets me excited.
Thank you. Betty, what's really got you excited?
Well, what's got me excited, I think, is all the people that are getting trained. I think a lot of people, when they first came into the industry, they had an interest in it, but they weren't really trained. So I'm excited about the fact that so many people are actually getting trained, learning the industry, learning the language, knowing how to do it professionally. So that has me excited. The other thing that has me excited is I really do think our economy is on the verge of busting open. I know there are some people who are still kind of pessimistic about it, and if you're out there looking for a job on a daily basis, it's easy to get very pessimistic. But when you look at it from a little step back a little bit and look at all the things that are happening, I think that I'm extremely optimistic about how our economy is going to turn around here in the near future. And so having this training will be a real positive for all of you who are out looking for work.
Thanks. Leanna, what's got you really excited about this industry and the things that you see coming down the pipe?
I think first and foremost is that Colorado is paving the way. We've been identified as one of the leading states that is starting to really dive into it and dive into it heavy. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I would also have to piggyback on what Betty has said. It's really exciting to see folks learn more, especially folks who have come with just a construction or a basic construction background and really wanting to take it to the next level, knowing that there is no maximum to what they can learn. It could have been generational, that maybe your father's father has been in construction, and so you knew nothing else but to get into construction. And now all of a sudden, there's something called green training. What is that? How can I get involved? And seeing folks come to our workforce center saying, how do I get involved? So that's pretty exciting to see folks coming through our doors wanting to learn more about it and understand that with the skill set that you have so many skills that are transferable that you can take into this new industry. So it's really exciting to know that we have a quality workforce that's going to be able to enter renewable energy.
Excellent. Greg, what's got you really excited about this industry?
Something new, a new industry. Sometimes in your trade or your business, you can get complacent and you can get tired of just doing the same Monday thing. Okay, so now we have renewable energy coming along, geothermal, like wind energy, solar, and it's something that I can learn now. I can use my mind more and open up, and people can get excited. And you go with the excitement, you go with the people, and you will be successful. But I'm excited about just the renewable energy just going green. I think it's a great opportunity for my company and for people out there, other people.
Excellent. Dennis, what do you see on the horizon in this energy efficiency industry that's got you really excited?
Well, I think that, again, that I'll say that because it keeps on changing and it's not going to be the same. New products are going to come on, new ways to do it, and I like that it's changing and that we still need to do it. So I don't know exactly what's coming up, but I know it's going to be new and different, and I want to be open and learn about it.
Now let's go back to Leanna. Can you tell us what kind of resources are available for job seekers through the Workforce Center?
There are so many resources within the Workforce Center. I'm so glad you asked that. My job as the Workforce Center coordinator is to not only help folks get into training or identify training such as ICAST training, the one that you're sitting in today, but is to help you identify where your strengths and weaknesses are as an unemployed job seeker and try to provide services that are within our Workforce Center to help address those needs so that you can become the best applicant for any potential job that you apply for. Some services that we offer are something called Job Readiness 123. Now, each Workforce Center may have their own variation.
Let's change gears to a section that I like to call a day in a life. Now, Greg, you are an HVAC contractor, and now we've been studying a lot of different things and about a lot of different subjects, and maybe one of our students who went through the HVAC section and like, you know what, that really looks interesting. I wonder what it's like to get a job in the HVAC industry. Can you kind of run us through the day in the life of an entry-level HVAC worker?
Well, the first thing is that you have to have your schedule, you have to have your tools, and you have to know where you're going. You have to be able to, like, I'll get up about 6 o'clock in the morning, plan my day, my schedule, what I'm gonna do. A lot of times I should, at nighttime when I go in, then focus on the next day or what I'm going to do. So I don't have to be getting up in the morning and rushing. If I get calls, if I set calls up for in the morning, if I have to run to get parts to my suppliers, if I have to assist somebody into helping a job, working on a job. The day is like, sometimes I never know what time I start and when it's going to end. I've ended working about 8, 9 o'clock at night. I get home, I get a call that the boiler's out, the heat's out, and it's cold. I have to leave right back out the house, and sometimes I go right back in the same area that I was in. And then plus your equipment, and then sometimes I have to have a partner to help me out on things because I get overloaded, and then I have to call somebody to help. So it's not a day of just being structured, just to think that 8 to 5 is it. The hour lunch, you all can take an hour and sit around. No, you grab a burger and you keep going. No smoke breaks. I don't smoke, but if you do smoke in the truck, you keep going. It's nonstop. When business is really flowing, and like the air conditioning season is coming up now, and everybody's waiting until it gets hot, and I will be running at least about 6 days a week. Okay, so, and then also you have to have time for yourself. You got a life. You got to have personal time. So you got to be able to shut the business down and says, okay, this is it. Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, I'm not doing nothing else. And that means don't even pick up your tools. Don't look at your paperwork. You have to let your brain relax and come down because you can burn out. And you do not want to burn out, so you have to pace yourself. Okay? So if you want to get into this industry, don't think it's going to be 9 to 5, 1 hour lunch. Well, I deserve an hour lunch. No, you don't. Okay. And but it's exciting and rewarding because I love what I do. And my thing is the end result is seeing the air conditioners and the furnaces and the boilers getting repaired and working, and it's working correctly, And I enjoy it. You have to love what you do. Okay, don't get in here. Money's good, and I said yesterday about money. Yeah, it is, but I love what I do. Okay, and so it makes it easier for me to get out and do it. But if you're getting in here and you just thinking it's drudgery and, oh man, I don't like this, this is not what I wanted, and this ain't a job, then it's not for you. Okay, if you love what you do, the knowledge and the money will come. And I love it. I've been in the industry over 20 plus years, and so I love it. Okay, but the one thing that I know, I've been burned out in this industry, and I got burnt out, and I walked away from it. I just dropped my tools, dropped my business, and I walked away. I didn't want it no more. And my friends were saying, well, you right at the height. Things are good. I was burnt. And I don't want to get back there again, and you don't want to get back there again. You can't run 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day. You think you can, but you can't because you're burnt out, okay? And so some of you that got families, take your time with your families, take your time for yourself, go fishing, but don't burn yourself out, okay? And this career be very rewarding to you.
Now, Greg, what kind of a person, what kind of qualities would that person have? What kind of interests would that person have that would make a good HVAC technician?
For one thing, you have to be a people's person because you deal with so many people and attitudes, and when people come at you because somebody have came before you and ripped them off and took their money, and they think you're going to walk through the door and you're going to rip them off, You have to be a people's person. From the time the phone rings, you have to pick the phone up. You have to have a certain attitude and a certain way you talk because people know that if there's something wrong, you got a bad attitude, they don't want to talk to you. So that's the first thing, your attitude and a people's person. Then you have to be knowledgeable of a little bit of everything. You got to know your trade, your industry. I have to know heating, I have to know air conditioning, but I have to know electrical, I have to know electricity, I have to know about the circuit breakers. You have to be knowledgeable of other things that you don't work on. You have to be able to know what kind of tools to use, how to use the tools. People think that they know how to use a crescent wrench or a adjustable wrench or a pipe wrench. There are certain ways you got to use it. You got to learn how to use your meters. You got different meters that tells you temperature, pressures, tells you how, what can be the problem, where the problem is. Okay, you got to be able to do that. It's like a doctor comes in, put his testicle on your heart and say, okay, this is a problem. You got to know, and you got to know how to read it. And then one thing besides that, if you can't read your instruments and your meters, you better pull out a pen and paper and know how to do the formulas also, okay? So, and you have to have some kind of mechanical knowledge, mechanical background. You know, you got to know that you can go in and fix and read instructions, and you can repair anything that you can, read the instructions, it about basically tell you. Sometimes we read the instructions when we install stuff, and it doesn't tell you everything. You got to throw the instructions away, and you go for what you know. That's where the knowledge come in. And then you cannot be ignorant about, and ignorant is not knowing. You can't think that, oh, I can go over here and I can knock that cup over, but ain't no water gonna come out. You know water will come out, okay? So you have to have that type of knowledge, and when you get into the customer's house, be respectful of the customer, be respectful of their house. If you replacing a part or furnace, clean up after you. Whatever you do, I don't care if you 1 screw, 10 screws, get them all up off of the floor. You got to do your job as nobody was ever there.
Betty, now you own your own business, and sales is an integral part of being your own boss. So if someone is interested in, say, getting to a sales position, tell us, what is the day in the life of a salesperson like?
Well, there's never 2 days that are the same. Every day is a little bit different. The key thing is you do have to like people. And it's interesting that we just talked about being a mechanical type person, you have to like people. Well, if you're in sales, you really have to like people. You have to be knowledgeable about your product. You have to be knowledgeable about the industry. Just like you have to be knowledgeable if you're going to install it, you have to be knowledgeable if you're going to sell it. You have to be honest. You have to be straightforward with folks. You have to have initiative. You know, sales especially, if you don't have a lot of initiative, sales can be very, very difficult because sometimes it's hard to say, oh my God, here I have to go again. And you have to be able to hear the word no. And, you know, sometimes no means no today, but it may not mean no tomorrow. So you have to understand then how and when you can come back to that person and talk to them again. So, like I said, it's never the same from one day to the next. You have to understand your customer. The key thing is to understand the person that you're talking to. When I'm out talking to businesses and asking them if they're hiring, you know, I try to make sure I know a little bit about that business before I walk in the door, and then I understand a little bit about what their needs might be. I try to understand a little bit about what their industry, what they're going through, understand if they've been having some problems with their business, that kind of thing. So it's important to know who you're talking to when you're out selling to them. If I walk in the door and I'm talking to Jared, for example, and he thinks I don't understand a bit about him, he's not even going to spend two seconds with me. And the key thing about sales is that you have to solve or help them solve their need. That's the point of a sale. It's not about you making a sale. It's not about you maybe making money doing that. If you don't have the mindset that you're there to help your customer, you will not be successful. So that's the key thing about sales, is having your customer first in your mind, knowing your customer, doing some research about your customer, being prepared, walking in the door prepared. That's critical to be successful in sales.
Thank you, Betty. Jared, you're a business owner too. So let's say that someone, they look at this energy efficiency industry and they think to themselves, you know what, I'd really like to kind of strike off on my own. I'd like to have my own business doing this. What is it like? Tell us about the day in the life of a business owner. Is it golf and lunches, or is it something else?
No, no. I think it's a big myth that if you own your own company, you work less. A lot of times you actually end up working more. However, the nature of work is different. One thing that I firmly believe is that if you're a business owner, you should always work on your business and not in your business. I don't just want another job. And so one thing that I'm constantly doing is business development. Being here. I mean, I get to talk to guys. I enjoy this. I love ICAST as an organization. But my business also gets on here. My business gets on tape. I get recognition for this. My company gets recognition for this. I sit on a couple nonprofit boards, so I'm constantly out there trying to work on my business. I'm making contacts with different city agencies, stopping by. Hey, how you doing? Can I take you to lunch? Building those relationships and things like that so that I can continue to grow my business. Because one of the big mistakes that a lot of business owners make is that they end up doing all the work. And you can never build equity in a company if you're doing all the work, because you can only make as much as what you can do that day. But if you can develop a business, you can have other people to do that work for you. That's when you begin to build equity. You begin to make money when you're not there. And so then that's kind of the second thing about being a business owner is if you're a true control freak, then you probably shouldn't be a business owner. Because if there's one thing I've really come to understand, it's that your success as a business owner is really predicated on those that you surround yourself with, right? I have to have complete trust in my office manager that she knows how to field the calls and, keep the books and everything like that. I have to have complete trust in my auditors, and when they go out, they're going to do an audit correctly, and that the installation is going to get sold at the right price or whatever that is. And so those are some of the key things about being a business owner. And then there are those times where, as a business owner, you do wear every hat sometimes throughout the day. Sometimes I have to go crawl through a crawl space or get in an attic or whatever I have to do to make sure that we please that client. As Betty was saying, that's always number one, is to have a happy customer. So, you could be cleaning the bathrooms one day. Who knows what it is as a business owner, but for the most part, I try and work on business development and working on instead of in my business.
Now, you mentioned that you can't be a true control freak and be a business owner. What are some of the other qualities that you think a person would need to be a successful business owner?
I think you have to have a tolerance for risk to a certain extent. So you have to make sure that you do your homework and there are always calculated risks. And I may think things are risky that you may not, but that's always one aspect of it. You also have to have some sort of why you're wanting to be a business owner. Is it money? Is it more free time? What is that why that will drive you to do it? Because when you don't have a boss, you don't have to go to work. You can go skiing, you could play golf, you could do whatever you want to do. You don't have to go to work. So you have to make sure that your why is big enough before you start a company. Those are two of the biggest things. I think common sense and leadership skills are both very, very important. That you have to be a true leader, because I'm a firm believer that people don't follow ideas or regulations or rules. They follow other people, charismatic leaders. And so that's one of the places that you really have to develop as a person is with your leadership skills if you want to run a company.
So, Jared, what is your why?
My why? Well, I think my main why is economic freedom, building equity in a company. I've always kind of felt that working for someone is great, and don't get me wrong, I left a large financial firm before I started the company, and there are benefits to that, and some days I'm like, why did I do this? But to me, I felt like one of my path to achieving, to become independently wealthy was to become a business owner. And energy efficiency was kind of a natural progression for me. So,
Well, thank you. Let's go back to Betty. Betty, you had mentioned when it comes to a salesperson, you really have to be a people person. What are some of the other qualities that a person would need to be a successful salesperson?
Well, again, I think I said earlier, you have to have a lot of initiative because with sales, you have to go out and a lot of times you have to develop your own leads. You also have to pay attention to the industry. I'm always reading business articles, listening to the news, checking the internet every day, seeing what's going on. And I have to pay attention to what's going on in my world. So that way, I think about, well, gee, XYZ company just got this big contract. They might be hiring, so maybe we need to call on them. Or if I see a certain industry is moving, then I know companies that are in that industry. So then we start calling on those companies. So the key thing is to know what's going on around you. Pay attention, learn. It's critical to learn. So when you walk in and you're talking, I don't care what you're selling, or I'm selling job placement, if you're selling HVAC systems, whatever you're selling, you have to be knowledgeable about what you're selling. So that way, when you walk in the door, the business owner doesn't feel like they're wasting their time with you. So those are critical things about salespeople. Good record keeping. You also, sometimes you call on a business and a month, you should call them back in a month from now. You don't want to miss that lead. So you've got to make sure that you're keeping good track of the people that you've called on. You've got some good notes, some good documentation on what you're doing.
Thank you. Let's go to Leanna. Tell us about some of the other job opportunities in this industry.
Well, starting off, like if you go outside and work for a specific company, it takes many people to run a successful business. So it takes the bookkeeper that was mentioned. It takes someone who is good at doing estimating, going out doing bids. It takes someone who knows how to do the home energy audits. It takes someone to physically go out there and do the physical work. If it's installing a solar panel, if it's erecting a wind turbine, if it's retrofitting. So it takes many, many people to actually do that. It takes accountants to do all the books at the end of the year. And not just one person can do all that, as we heard before. So there's many other areas that you can get into, but still be within the industry. There's many other industries that are booming as well, but it seems like Denver is really focusing on energy efficiency, renewable energy, but you can go into any areas. You have transferable skills. Many people don't realize the skills that you possess today can transfer into different occupations. So take advantage of them now, apply those to renewable energy. You never know, you may advance through, or you may 20 years from now realize, I want to make a change. That is all the work experience that you've obtained up to that point is not forsaken. You can transfer those skills into something else. So just keep an open mind, and I think you'll do just fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dennis, you've done auditing and you've also been a weatherization technician. Tell us about the day in the life of a weatherization technician.
Well, it's from, a lot of times it's from being in a crawl space underneath a house that could have spiders or, to being in an attic that could be 130 degrees in the summertime. So it's not, a lot of times the working environment isn't the most luxurious, but I've also said to my employees that, if it was really fun to do, people wouldn't hire us to do it. And I've also said, that if you think about it, that most of our customers pay a lot of money to go work out and sweat in the gym. And here we're doing the work, and we're getting paid to do it, and we're staying thin and working out and sweating. So, it all depends, how you look at it. But in a day of life, it really is work if you are the technician, and you're usually in, tight spots, and and the two types of technician, what happens is the people skill is when you're retrofitting on an existing house. A lot of these trades you can do in new construction, and you don't need the people skills other than to your employer and your foreman and things like that. And like I said, I was an early auditor. In fact, I was the first certified auditor in the state of Colorado, and I trained a lot of auditors. And I learned that there were two types of auditors. I actually ran the program for a public service company for auditors. And I had some auditors that were really kind of engineering type people when we were just doing existing houses. And they said to me, we only want to do the houses where no one's in. And there were houses like they were up for sale and they were thinking about buying it, but it was vacant. And I could never think about spending my 2 or 3 hours auditing a house and with no interface with the homeowner. And so I realized there were two types of energy auditors. There were the engineering type that really just wanted to focus on the structure, and there was the auditors that kind of like the human element, and they contribute. And so what I learned that you have to, realize that there's different skill sets, and you try to target people towards their skill sets. And it's something that I heard, I think maybe it was Becky said that, kind of you should love your work. And, I'm kind of from the 60s, 70s, kind of hippie generation that used to say, do what you love and the money will follow. And if it doesn't, you still ended up doing what you loved. So I really believe in that. And I think very often it will follow if you really enjoy it. And as far as owning a business, what I say is the owners usually do spend more hours at work than the employees. But I say you have the illusion of freedom, and the illusion is worth a lot. So, it's a kind of a choice.
So Dennis, why do you love what you do?
It's basically because we know that we're helping people, and we get immediate feedback. So a lot of us contractor types, I have a twin sister that's a psychiatrist, and she tells us, contractors typically have ADD, attention deficit. And so we like things that turn around fast. And a lot of times we'll be working on a client's house, and we come back the second day, and if we're working on the winter or the summer, they'll come to us in the morning and say, wow, that section you worked on yesterday, we can feel a difference. So how many jobs do you get immediate gratification right from the client? That's what's really rewarding. And that's why I'm a people person. I don't want to do a new construction house because you don't get that feedback. In a new construction job, my thought is you do a better job than the next guy, nobody really knows it. Typically, they just look at what the cost is, and it goes to the lowest bidder. So I like the feedback from the customers who can tell the difference. And then sometimes over the long term, they say, yeah, their bills went down. But that usually takes at least a month or 2 months. But people during the summer and winter will know a difference thermally, that their house is less drafty or more comfortable, or our furnace isn't running as much. I remember one lady called me and said, you guys were up in the attic, and she had a furnace in the attic, and I came home, and my furnace isn't running, and I think those guys might have done something to my furnace. And I said, oh, that's possible because, the thermostat wires, the low voltage wires went up there, and we could have moved it. So I drove over there, and she called me. I was about 10 minutes from her house. She said, oh, I apologize. I never came home in the winter and my furnace wasn't running. I just assumed it was broken. And it didn't have to run as much anymore. So that was a great testimonial.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's shift gears a little bit, and let's start talking about marketing. Leanna, what can job seekers do to market themselves, whether it be how they put together a resume, how they dress, what they say, so that they stand out from the rest of the crowd?
Well, I think the first thought that comes to mind is exactly what Betty was talking about with the sales position. Think of it as that. What are you selling? You're selling yourself.